minus the depreciation allowance in that year. So it will provide me $7,128, and 40% of that will be my new depreciation. Okay. So that in here, while I am finding the cumulative allowance, I'm just summing up this with the previous cumulative, of course, and it will provide me that much. Okay. So when I come to the fifth year, in the fifth year, it will be my unrecovered costs in the previous year minus the depreciation allowance allocated in the fourth year. So 7,000 minus 2,000, let me say almost, we are talking, and it will provide me 4,000 something, $4,277. And 40% of that should be normally my depreciation allowance. But be careful. If I take the 40% of that money, what will happen now? I'm saying that, okay, in that year, I will have a $1,711 for me. But let us check the cumulative allowance. Then, if I have $1,711 depreciation allowance for the fifth year, my cumulative will be $30,434, which is not possible. I cannot exceed, right? Because I have a salvage value of $3,000. So I have to consider about that. This shouldn't exceed $3,000 for me, cumulative allowance, right? When I consider the question. So annual depreciation allowance for the last year should be 1,277, so that this minus this will be a kind of like $3,000 of salvage value for me, right? So this is your salvage value, let me say. Salvage value, which is actually dollars minus dollars now. Okay, so if you it means that if you are gonna sell your equipment at the fifth year, what's gonna happen? You have depreciated $1,277 off $4,277, so that you are ending up with having $3,000 of the value of the equipment. So you can sell it for $3,000. Okay, based on the 40% calculation, it exceeds. This cumulative allowance exceeds, and your salvage value will be much more less than whatever you have to have in the end. So you have to consider about your, salvage value in here to be able to make it much more, let me say, realistic, actually. Okay, so if you only take 40% of that money, and if you try to make here as cumulative will be plus this, what will happen now? This will be your cumulative allowance. So you are allocating more than what you should allocate in terms of what is given in the question, actually. And your salvage value then should be, this minus this, which will provide you something less than $3,000. So that's why we change here and make that, okay, it's not possible that we can exceed the cumulative allowance of $3,000 for us, so that we are going to arrange here our annual depreciation for the fifth year by making it like $1,277. Okay, and this is called as the double declining balance method, where we are finding the annual depreciation allowance. Okay, so let me make it like that. Any questions regarding that part? Any questions? No?
Benim yok hocam.
Okay. Is it clear? Does it make any sense what depreciation, what we are doing for depreciation and the depletion thing? I mean, does it make more sense now, or? So I should understand, no, hocam, nothing makes sense for now. No answer means that we can't follow anymore. Am I right? Give me feedback, guys, so that I will be more sure that.
Hocam, everything is okay.
Okay. If you are not sure, just let me know about it, okay? So if you feel some part is confusing and you can't get what is mentioned, just ask on time. Of course, once you go through your lecture notes and everything afterwards, sometimes whatever you understand during the lecture, you feel like that, what was that actually? I didn't understand. But sometimes we just postpone our questions, you know, we don't understand during the class and we don't want to ask, and we say, okay, we can manage later, but then it becomes even more confusing. So if you have any confusing parts for now, you can ask anytime, let me say. So this is for the depreciation allowance for the double declining methods, we said. Let me...
Hocam, I have only one question.
Go.
The unrecovered cost for fifth year is going to be 4,277 or 3,000?
So this is for this one, unrecovered cost. No, this is the beginning of the fifth year actually. So this is the 4,200.
Okay.
Huh.
At the beginning of sixth year, we're going to have 300, right?
No, $3,000. This is the end of fifth year.
3,000.
Yeah. So this is where you start
By
the
the end
fifth
of
year. Yeah. So this is where you say this is wherever you start your fifth year. So your machinery has a kind of value of that much in the beginning of the fifth year. But you are gonna complete your fifth year. You are gonna also depreciate your machinery in that year as well. Then in the end of then in the end of fifth year, you are gonna have a certain salvage value of $3,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool then. And this part just shows me the allowances for the straight line technique. So this is quite straightforward, as we told before. We are just taking the 20% of the cost minus salvage, okay? The $30,000 for us, because we had a salvage of 3,000, we had a $33,000. So in our straight line technique, we are using cost minus salvage, or cost less salvage. Let me write cost less salvage in here. So in total, we say, okay, 30,000 and 20%, 1/5, because we have 5 years. The rate of the annual rate of that method is 20%. So we are going to get 20% of $30,000 for every year. This is the annual allowance in dollars, $6,000. And this shows me the cumulative allowance. In the first year, in the end of first year, I will have $6,000. In the end of second year, I will have 6,000 more, so that I should add this to be able to find the cumulative allowance. It will be $12,000. In the third year, 12,000 plus 6,000. In the third year means in the end of third year. Let me clarify like that. In the end of third year, you will have $18,000. In the fourth year, you will have $18,000 plus $6,000. It will be $24,000. And of course, in the end of fifth year, it shouldn't exceed your cumulative allowance, depreciation allowance shouldn't exceed $30,000, right? So now it makes sense. $24,000 plus $6,000 is $30,000, because we have arranged at the beginning like that. We have considered about our salvage and everything. In the double depreciation, double balance declining technique, at first we don't consider about our salvage. We first consider about our initial cost, book value, okay? So that since we start like that, in the end, our cumulative allowance might be different from our total, which should be 30,000. So we should arrange our annual depreciation for the last year accordingly. But for the straight line, we arrange everything at the beginning. We consider about our salvage value, and then we take the, certain rates, which is 1/5. So the total should be giving us $30,000 anyway, so that we don't have to, check for our cumulative allowance for this case. So these columns are important for us. Let me make them red maybe. Okay. So these are all showing my annual depreciation allowance, how much depreciation I will have every year. So that while I have to include them in my cash flow every year, I will have my income, I will have my other costs and expenses, and I will also include my depreciation, so that I will subtract them from the income again to be able to find my net taxable income. And then afterwards, I will be able to calculate my tax amount, okay? To be able to find my net profit, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all I believe. Let me save this one, this example. And maybe I have 10 minutes more or 15 minutes more. So how you are feeling, guys? Do you need a break?
If it's 10 minutes only, I think we can continue and finish.
We can continue. Okay. Okay.
10 minutes is not much.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. Let us continue and finish that. So let me share a new whiteboard maybe. Okay. And hocam, do we only have two techniques? Actually, no, not really. We don't have two techniques only. We also have other techniques. For example, if I just clear that drawing. For example, if you are gonna use a kind of technique like units of let me say units of production. Okay, units of production technique. Now you should consider about your production schedule, okay? And you will correlate your depreciation allowance with every year, let me say, allowance every year with the annual production, okay? It's logical actually. This makes sense to us. If you produce more, it means that you are wearing or tearing your machinery even more, so that it should be related with your production as well. You can think like that as well, let me say. So I'm gonna share all the equations for each technique actually. So for example, for the let me open it here. We also have a kind of sum of the years digits, okay? So this is a kind of, for example, technique. I can just simplify like that. It uses a declining rate, okay, per year that is applied to the total cost of the per year that is applied to the total costs of the asset less the salvage value, okay? Now, at first, we use a kind of cost minus salvage. Again, we are using a declining rate, but we consider about salvage at the beginning, differently from double declining balance technique, okay? So, and also again, we determined rate by a fraction. So all of them include a kind of, let me say, equations, different equations, so that I'm gonna share maybe a kind of, let's save that, okay. And maybe I can open a kind of, yeah, stop share, share screen. It should be here. Yeah. Can you see a picture? The equations?
Yes, hocam.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So I'm gonna share such kind of formulas for depreciation and the book value, okay? So that it just shows us how we can calculate the annual amount of depreciation and whether we really consider about the salvage value at the beginning or not. For example, as I said, for the sum of digits and straight line techniques, we consider the salvage value at the beginning and we take the rates of the initial cost minus salvage value, okay, with respect to years. But for the declining balance technique, what we were mainly doing, we were mainly not considering about the salvage value at the beginning, okay? And we were using the certain percentage of the initial cost at the first year, and then it was declining year by year. And we were mainly considering about undepreciated costs. We were not considering about the salvage at the beginning, but for the final year, we were arranging our depreciation allowance, also considering our